Hello, in today's video we review episode 4 of Queer as Folk on Peacock. Julian finally gets some, sex parties, non-binary issues, and of course, it wouldn't be an episode of Queer as Folk without Brody pissing someone off. This is Unfiltered with Matt. Before we get started, like, subscribe, leave a comment, hit that notification bell to get notified when we have new videos uploaded for you. We're here to talk about topics from the news, entertainment, and product reviews, of course, and much more. And we'll start off how the episode starts with Julian. So in the beginning of the episode, we get to see that Julian is sniffing Noah's underwear because before that, Noah's taken a shower and left his underwear there. Who knows if that was intentional? Let me leave something a little behind so maybe Julian could take a sniff. I don't know. But Julian does pick up the underwear, sniffs it, and unfortunately for Julian, or maybe fortunately, Julian is caught by Noah, and kind of the cat's out of the bag that Julian likes Noah, and they like each other. So in this episode, we get to explore that a little more, and this episode is really about Julian taking that spotlight in there. I'm really excited for it. So we get to see later in the episode where Marvin is going to be throwing this sex party at Noah's place. And Julian is going to be there, and he's trying on a shirt prior to the party in front of Noah. And I like the scene where Julian's like, hey, I'm going to take off my shirt and don't peek. And you get to see like Noah kind of peeking as he's getting ready. And I think that is kind of a cute, flirtatious kind of thing that's starting between them. And it's kind of interesting that Noah didn't mention, like, hey, let's talk about you sniffing my underwear earlier today. So Julian chooses a button-up shirt, and, Noah helps him button it. Julian's nervous about the sex party. I couldn't imagine going to a sex party. I'm not even sure what the closest thing to a sex party is I've ever been to. Maybe people making out in an alley. But it's nice to get a peek inside because I'm going to live vicariously through these characters. One of the things that I was concerned about with Noah and Julian ending up together is that Brody connection, and we're getting to see through the episodes a little more about Brody, and maybe potentially that Noah and Julian being together is not the best for both of these characters because Brody's going to end up being jealous and potentially make things worse. But we do have a character that comes into the forefront here, which is Leo, and he's introduced at the sex party, comes up to Julian, who's behind the bar, and immediately, Leo's cute. And, Julian starts talking with him. Leo invites him for a walk, innocent enough. And I think it's a sweet conversation that they have between each other. Leo's deaf, and I think Julian reciprocates that, he likes him too. So he's at this party as well. It reminds you of the magical moments that when you meet somebody and you're starting to get to know each other. After the initial nervousness starts, because I always hate the first kind of leading up to the first date. But once you're starting to get to know each other and you're in this groove, it's kind of nice. Leo says that he likes Julian, and they walk back to Leo's place. We get to see that Leo kisses Julian, and Julian is not so sure about, pursuing this, and he thinks about it and turns around and kisses Leo. And right at that moment, I was excited because I was like, maybe, it's good that Julian has someone other than Noah who's connected to Brody. So they get busy. I'm rooting for Julian to, finally get a moment to himself. Julian, when they're together, decides, I'm going to turn off the lights because I don't want you to see me. And that's probably something I would do, to tell you the truth, because I was like, listen, this shirt is covering up a lot of things that people don't want to see. Leo turns on the light, and he wants to see everything. So they have this intimate moment, Leo and Julian, and afterwards we get to see that Leo is getting this text message ring on his phone. Julian goes to pick it up and he sees that Leo is being paid by Brody for his services, which is to have Leo have sex with Julian. And Julian is immediately kind of shocked, disheveled, and is like getting dressed, and he confronts Leo about it. And Leo thinks, he was like, "You didn't know?" And Julian was like, "No," and it's like really like uncomfortable. And that was like a terrible, moment to see, Julian go through, because here it is where I think that the character's having a moment where he's finally getting to get someone on his own, and unfortunately Brody's behind it and manipulating things behind the scene. I think that this allows Julian in that moment to maybe get the courage to confront Brody again. Not that I don't think that he hasn't had the courage in the past, but when he does see Brody back at Noah's place after the party has ended, Brody says basically like, "Hey, did you like, what I got you? That's what I'm here for. I'm glad you liked it." I mean, Julian says that, this is completely messed up, and Brody doesn't get it, and he's like, "Oh, whatever. I'm just pissing people off today." I think that leaves Julian kind of like, "Hey, you know what, Brody? You were the reason that stopped me from going to Noah, and guess what? Screw you, because now I'm going to go to him." And he does. And him and Noah end up doing it. And I was just thinking, wow, Julian, you must really have stamina this episode, because you just had intercourse with Leo, and now a few hours later, you're here with Noah. Hopefully you took a shower in between. As for Brody, like we talked about, Brody's having fun with two guys in the beginning of the episode, and he moved quickly past Noah, because I think the last episode, they broke up, and I think it's probably for the best that they broke up, because obviously Brody's not having any qualms about it. I mean, they were engaged before, so you think that would be a little hard for Brody to move past him. Sometimes things are not meant to be, I guess. I mean, I broke up with my ex, and then we were still trying to be friends, and it didn't work out. Not because we were trying to get back together or anything, but, I guess sometimes you drift apart, and also when you start a new relationship, it's really hard to start a new relationship and still be friends with your ex. Brody seems to lack some common sense in regards to many things in this episode. He's taking care of Ruthie and Cher's babies, and of course, Brody in the beginning is, getting used to it. I mean, he's not as bad as Ruthie, telling the kids to shut the F up. But he decides to bring them back to Noah's place, where the sex party is, and then puts the kids in a sling. I mean, the kids fall asleep, I guess you could say that. When Ruthie and Cher see this, they get really upset with Brody. And unfortunately, that's another group of people that Brody pissed off. And I would say that Brody pissed off Cher more than Ruthie, because again, Ruthie is expected, as we see, to always excuse anything that Brody does. As far as Ruthie and Cher, they decide to go out. Brenda can't watch the kids. So they go to this fancy restaurant, and and obviously they don't feel comfortable going there. I think Cher thought like, hey, it's gonna be something different. Let's go out and do something. And I've done that in the past, like go to a fancy restaurant. I one time ate at a restaurant by myself, and that was awkward because everyone looked at me like it was very sad and pathetic. And I think that was probably the meal where I got indigestion because I was just so uncomfortable. But next time, I'll probably order a table in the corner. So the dinner gets a little awkward because Cher is being misgendered by the waiter. I mean, in the beginning, Cher's like, whatever. But Ruthie is getting pretty mad about it. The waiter comes over and, advises, how's the turtle? How's the, yeah, they ate turtle. How's your meal? How are you enjoying everything? And I think he refers to Cher as a miss, and um, he, walks away. And then after he walks away, Ruthie decides to pull out a little present, which I thought was a ring, but no, it's Coke. Like I said, Ruthie, probably not the most responsible person. So they decide to do Coke in the middle of uh, the dinner. And I was thinking, okay, why are you deciding to do drugs at the middle of dinner, in a public place that maybe you don't feel so comfortable with? Maybe, some people would justify it like, hey, you're trying to get the edge off, but I'm not sure if I really understand. Uh, so they start kissing at the table. The waiter again comes over and, you know, Miss uses the incorrect pronouns. Um, Cher says their pronouns are they and them, and gender is a construct. And this is where I'm trying to understand them, but if they weren't so rude and doing drugs and being rowdy and all those other things, it's a little hard in this scene for me to go like, oh yeah, you're standing up for yourself. I get it. You know what? But you're also causing disruption. So I just feel like, two wrongs don't make a right. And at least that's my opinion here. I mean, I get it. You want to be, called your correct pronouns and everything. At least that's my opinion here. I mean, I get it. You want to be, called your correct pronouns and everything. And I guess maybe since I am older now and grew up in a different time, I grew up in a small town. I was, I'm gay, and I kind of accepted that, people are not always going to accept me. I can't change the world and how it feels about me, but I'm going to continue to be who I am. And, slowly I'll make friends and discover people who accept me for who I am. And, it's great that, we've come so far. I think that, you know, considering, I mean, non binary, a lot of people have said it's existed for a long time, but I think as far as like mainstream and it being in the public, it's fairly new. And I think with the younger generation and lots of many people, they don't want to wait until like, let's say, as long as individuals had to wait for gay rights, transgendered rights, and everything else that they've seen before them. So I think they're really trying to push head forward to say like, hey, get it right. And I can understand not falling into certain molds of like what is stereotypical of what it means to be a man and what characteristics go for that. I see, like looking at that, you know what? I kind of get it. I can understand that. Yeah, you want to be you and not have preconceived notions of who you are. You want people to get to know you for you, and I respect that. Um, but going back to the the episode in the scene, I kind of um, lose like understanding when the way that they kind of handle the situation. Like, okay, doing drugs at this area, you're being rowdy, you're going into a different place, and I'm not sure if Cher per se would have done it this way if Ruthie haven't been there, and also probably didn't give her the drugs. So I kind of think, um, I'm not sure if I'm blaming Ruthie a little bit because Cher's usually has a pretty good level head. I just think that we also need to be mindful of when we're talking to this the waiter. He is an older gentleman, and at least I know that for other people, it's really hard to change their mindset, and this is years and years of them being, raised a certain way and being in a certain environment. And a lot of people are going to say, "Hey, that's no excuse, man." But just hear me out, um, because you know, for older generation, it was like, hey, call somebody sir and ma'am, yes sir, yes ma'am, out of respect. And then slowly, like, some people were like, don't call me ma'am. That makes me feel old. And I've seen lots of people and us other individuals who are raised with, let's say, like what they say are manners as far as like how you address people and make sure that you're showing that a sign of respect. Episode could have done, and the show could have done a better job of like making it clear to me. I could understand, yes, being mispronounced and everything is upsetting, but I think if I were the character, I probably would have been like, okay, older generation trying to takes time to get used to, you know, let me just, remind the individual and respectfully so. And I know the episode's trying to say like, hey, they kept on reminding him, but, um, you know, I just think that, like I said, if they're going to criticize, it's best like, don't do drugs and don't be, you know, rowdy before you start making a scene, because it's hard for me to respect and understand them. I was like, you know. Marvin is getting busy in the bathroom with his paid escort. He decides to, like I said, have the party at Noah's place and calls it F Disabled People. And I'm not sure if he came up with that name or his partner did. It's a public sex party. So I thought that was interesting. I was like, okay, everybody doing it in front of each other? No, thank you. Marvin has his man that he's paid for, and they have an intimate moment. I really enjoy, that Marvin is getting a little more development as a character in this episode. Marvin allows his, I guess you can call him boyfriend, that's what we'll refer to him right now, to his boyfriend to explore his body and touch him. You can see, like, for example, like Marvin's legs, he's never really had anyone touch them before, and he lets his boyfriend, the paid escort, do that. And it's an intimate moment for Marvin, and because he's letting go, and you get to see from Marvin that he has this exterior that he's had, and these jokes and these are things that he's done to protect himself. But there's a part of him that feels that he doesn't deserve that as well, because later in the episode, after they have their intimacy in their moment, Marvin pays him the money that he took from the donation box, and he, says, "Hey, I think I still want to continue this. I mean, I know that you couldn't imagine being or with me or wanting me." The guy responds, "I do like you," and he puts the money back in the charity box instead of taking it, which really shows that he does care about Marvin, and it's not just words. So in this episode, Mingus reaches out to Brody, and Brody invites him over. And Mingus is really excited about that. And unfortunately, it feels like when you're young, and I remember this, well, actually, do I remember this? Because when I was young, I kind of just don't want to be with anybody. I was afraid of getting hurt. So with Mingus, okay, a little bit of the opposite, because he is excited that Brody invites him over, and then he gets a text that Brody says, "Bring trash bags," and Mingus is like, okay, he wants me to bring trash bags. So he's a little disappointed. His mom says, "Let me drop you off," and she does. She embarrasses Mingus at Noah's place in front of Julian. I think it's Ruthie's there. I think, oh no, Ruthie had left. Brody's there. Noah, Marvin. And Judy is basically saying, like, "Oh my gosh, about that glory hole," or whatever she's saying. She's making a joke about glory holes, and says, "Oh God, Mom, stop it! Stop trying to be cool." And he runs away because I guess it's what you would do. It's like, I can't stay here and watch you embarrass me anymore. I'm gonna run away. And he runs straight to drag school. I mean, isn't that nice? A kid running to school. Mingus has a terrible moment, though, in drag school, because when they're sharing everything, Mingus says, when it's his turn, he goes, "What my struggles are? I really struggle with sewing, and I'm here to improve it," which really is not what they want to hear in the group. It's like, open up, tell us more about yourself. So after that, Mingus and Bussy have a moment, and she tells him to be honest, and it will help him as a person and as a performer, and that nobody there is going to judge him. So Mingus finally opens up about Babylon to the group. He feels like he skipped a few years because, he's only 17, and now he feels marked. Mingus escapes and accuses everyone right after that of getting off in his pain because it was too comfortable for him. And Bussie's like, no, no, talk more, say it, say it. But he doesn't want to talk. So just like he did with his mom, now he's doing it to the group and he's running away. Of course, Mingus runs to Brody, which is probably not the best person to run to, but it's understandable. Mingus was saved by Brody at Babylon. And so Brody has already pissed 2 people or 3 people off. Julian, Ruthie, and, well, I shouldn't say Ruthie. So 2 people. It's going to be Cher. So Julian and Sherry's already pissed off. Brody's in his room at Noah's, which is in the mirror room. And Mingus knocks on the door and he says, hey, can I come in? And they're sitting on the bed together, and Brody says, am I messed up? Am I, a bad person? I think that's the gist of what he says. Am I effed up? Yeah. And Mingus says, no, of course, because Brody saved his life. They kiss, and then Mingus takes off his shirt, and they get busy. I wonder if Brody can really get out of his head to really think about more than just him. Lots of the times, he feels like he's helping somebody, and he's really not. Like, oh, I think I'm going to help Julian by hiring an escort to have sex with him. And for some reason, it doesn't go in Brody's head, like, maybe that wasn't the best thing to do. I don't know. I mean, he did do a very courageous thing at the club by saving Mingus, so there is something there. I just have a feeling that Mingus is going to end up hurt because Brody is just not the right person for him. I did like the additional drama in this episode, between Julian and Brody. Like also exploring some of the other characters, and it was interesting to see a little bit more represented here about, non-binary individuals. What did you think about this episode? Were there any issues that you had with it? What would you like to see in this series? Do you disagree with me or agree with me? Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and click the bell to get more notifications on future videos. I want to thank you for joining me in this video. I know it was a difficult conversation. Hopefully I made sense. And until next time, stay safe and be well. we'll see more about Julian.